another edition of Pananomics, New York Weekly's #1 podcast for 2020. And today I am with a good friend, a master in his universe, an attorney, works with Ford models, is a very, very intelligent human being, the one and only Justin Jacobson. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Happy to be here.
I got to add in accomplished author as well. Gave me this book, good read, a lot of educational notes there. We'll talk about that in a second. But Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself and this journey that allowed you to start writing books and work with Ford models and doing some cool stuff.
Yeah. So, I've been an entertainment and esports attorney for the last decade. Started in the more traditional entertainment and sports and fashion world, working with pro athletes and musicians and DJs and music producers and fashion designers and stylists and all different creative people. And about 6 years ago, I expanded into the esports and gaming world, working with pro gamers and streamers and coaches and teams and casters and really just handling all their legal stuff. So doing that for a few years, and about a year and a half ago, a new ownership group bought Ford Models. And for those that are unfamiliar, it's a talent agency, a high-end luxury one, and they're kind of shifting towards a more traditional talent model. So they brought me in to create this esports and gaming talent division. So I handle the day-to-day affairs of over 20 different pro gamers and streamers and casters and coaches, and really help them kind of navigate their career, make sure they do all the business and legal stuff properly. And for the last 2 years, I've been teaching esports business at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. And we actually used my book that, David showed you, which is the Essential Guide to the Business and Law of Esports and Professional Video Gaming. So I really kind of started out in the more music world, handling, legal stuff, whether it's contracts or copyrights or trademarks or LLCs and corporations and all these other matters related to these entertainers. And over the years, I kind of expanded into the gaming world. And now I'm kind of sitting at the intersection of both, working with some professional athletes that are in the gaming world, some musicians and, hip hop DJs and radio casters that are also in the game space. So it's really nice mingling of both of my worlds.
That's amazing. What I love to hear about that is you went from such a different route. What gave you that foresight to start looking at esports and working with such a great group like Ford Model? And you mentioned the word luxury. What out of all the groups when you were thinking about made it such a right model for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've always been a gamer, and, earliest memories of playing Nintendo and putting that little gun against the screen to make sure I killed all those little ducks. I don't know what 7-year-old Justin or 6-year-old thought that you'd kill the guy if it was on the screen, but and then from Sega to N64 and, now play PlayStation almost every day. So it's always been part of me. And like I said, a few years ago, I really just kind of saw what was going on this really high level. Like I always knew that it was huge in, Korea and Asian markets. Like I was a big StarCraft and StarCraft 2 fan. So I always knew that like those guys were like, NFL and NBA superstars over there. So I always knew it was really huge, but it wasn't until a few years ago that I really started to see how big it got here in the US and North America. And then I kind of noticed the individuals that were acting as attorneys and kind of doing it at this high level, and noticed they all had a lot of similar backgrounds in prior experience. And I kind of felt that I can come from a different angle and a different knowledge base and network and experience and come from the traditional entertainment world and kind of make my mark. And, as we see a few years later, record labels and movie companies and, every other entertainment property is trying to get into this space. So, I definitely saw something here and kind of just went for it.
That's amazing. As you go for it and you're putting it together, I mean, you picked some of the, like I said, one of the biggest brands, and you really figured it out, right? And so now you're doing this day to day. Now, I can't imagine this conversation, right? You are big attorney, right? Write this awesome book. You're telling people, aren't you representing gamers in fashion, right? They must be telling you, what are you talking about? But you have that foresight. What were you talking about so they understand that?
Yeah, so Ford Models, as I mentioned, has a digital influencer division where they already were working with more traditional digital, fashion and wellness and health and beauty models that maybe weren't necessarily runway models or, the ones that would be in photo shoots, but we call them Instagram models. You have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers and great engagement, and all of these brands want to pay you to promote their products. So they had a whole division that was dedicated to that. So they saw a way to kind of integrate me and kind of bring some of these more traditional esports and gaming talent into what they were doing, because they started to get a bunch of requests for, we want maybe, a model or someone who has a certain look that also likes gaming. So they started to see a trend of some of these more non-endemic brands starting to see how they can get more diverse talent. And, the fact that the CEO's son is, around 19 years old, the other one's 21 years old, and all he does is see them play Fortnite. It was like, oh, wow, like this is, something huge. And, I see it in my own backyard. So they really kind of understood that, this digital space was, definitely something they're already working in. And that nowadays, like, kind of just looking as influencers, like I kind of say, like, I deal with legal matters for influencers, whether you're a musician or a painter or a fashion designer or a gamer or a streamer. You are a celebrity and entertainment influencer, and you have similar needs, similar legal, responsibilities and stuff that you need to protect your career. And that was kind of what they're already working on. So it was nice to be able to bring some of these more fashion forward talent that are, kind of known in the gaming world into, the machine that they've built.
Wow. So as you put together these deals, what are some of the amazing, things that collaborations that you've seen that have come together that you have seen in the space that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely, working with some unique people and, helping them kind of grow. We helped, one of our players, former NFL player, kind of work with an energy drink and meal supplement. We helped some of the unsigned players get signed to teams, helped, one of the WNBA players kind of navigate her getting signed to a team, and just really trying to open up new doors and figure out different ways to help them grow. Because, I think that there's more to talent than just, deal flow. There's being able to grow, is being able to find strategic opportunities and other income that's maybe just through you, whether it's merchandise or digital merchandise or, even different speaking engagements, figuring out how you can differentiate yourself. And that's kind of where kind of the development side comes in, where it's, you're trying to help them find new things. It's like, oh, well, you like cooking? Well, you need to start putting cooking content, and here's the kind of stuff that you can integrate, and this is how you can make it authentic, where like each recipe is themed by a game or a game character. And these are the unique things that maybe they're not necessarily thinking about, maybe they don't know how to execute, but you're able to kind of give them this institutional knowledge and then help them actually execute it, make sure they do it legally and properly, and kind of avoid some of the pitfalls that might happen if you don't.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? You talked about a really important part, the legal side of it, right? And from that legal side, you wrote this awesome book, right? The Essential Guide of Business Law of Esports Professional Video Gaming, right? Book right here. Great book, guys. Check it out. Tell us what inspired you to write this book and what the content of the book is about.
So yeah, as I kind of started out, I really noticed that there wasn't anywhere for anyone, especially who's trying to look at it from like a legal and business world, to kind of get a grasp. Like, I kind of, in the music world, there's something called All You Need to Know About the Music Business, which is written by Donald Passman, which is this big Hollywood lawyer for like Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson and Taylor Swift. And he wrote this book that was meant to be like, if you're a manager, if you're an artist, if you're a professor, a music business student, anyone that's really just trying to really understand the industry and what's going on here. And I kind of realized there was really nothing like that. There was really nothing that was written on the legal side at all at that time. And most of the stuff that was out there was really like, this is the history of esports. This is what happened here, and this is who won here. And that stuff's all great. And I think that it's, beneficial. But I kind of took a more of a business and legal slant for it to be, if you're a pro gamer or a streamer and you want to see what you need to do to make, different monetization opportunities, what things you might want to put in a sponsorship agreement, what things you might trademark or copyright, what potential business write-offs, how you might use loan out companies and, these different business entities to protect your business and your assets. And there was none of this stuff out there. And a lot of it exists in all these other entertainment worlds, and it didn't there. So kind of took it upon myself to, take this knowledge, as I really only feel like there's probably a handful of people that are really doing it consistently at this high level that even will be able to write something like this. And to be honest with you, they're just probably too busy to sit down and, write a 300-page book. So I kind of felt there was a huge void, and it's really intended for anyone. It's not just for lawyers or law students. And, it's definitely meant for, like, you're a lawyer in another area, or a businessman or CPA, or, like I said, a team owner or event organizer. You're trying to understand, how do I do things legally? How do I do it properly? What do I need legally to operate a team? What kind of assets can I protect? How should I do these things? And that's kind of what the textbook looks like. So it starts by looking at a history of, the business of esports, a bunch of different highlights that kind of move the business side forward. Not necessarily, oh, Optic won in this year, that was great. More like, this was the first time a player had a 6-figure deal. This was the first $1 million prize pool. This was the first 100 million views. Just things that are really significant in the business sense. And then it starts to look at what I call the 4 main players of this business ecosystem, and kind of the gaming talent, which are the pro gamers and streamers and coaches and casters and all of these kind of individuals. And then you have the teams and organizations. Then you have the game developers and publishers. And then you have the event organizers. And you kind of looked at who they are and kind of how they earned income. And then from there, it kind of looks at specific legal matters related to the esports world. Starts by looking at intellectual property, so copyrights and trademarks, and the whole evolution of user-generated content and mods, and how that kind of impacted esports. Then looks at business and tax matters, such as loan out companies, LLCs, and corporations. Then some visa and immigration stuff, as we know esports is so international, and especially for foreign players trying to come to the US, it's not the easiest process. It's a very new process. A lot of the individuals involved in approving this stuff on the government side are not that experienced in esports and professional video gaming. Like, they might know their grandson or child plays Nintendo, but they're not going to know what the Rainbow Six Pro League is and what that means. So we kind of included information to help prepare these applications, what you might need in order to get a visa, start to look at player unions and how that's developing and how that might have an impact on the whole labor employment situation. And then what's really unique, and I thought was really what separated the book from everything else, was the chapter that looked at contract law, where I actually went through a major player agreement, a major coach, a major caster agreement, and a sponsorship agreement, and look through some very common clauses, try to explain what they mean, what negotiation tips you might have from both sides, just to kind of illuminate some unique aspects of these gaming contracts. Because over the years, a lot of the major teams, a lot of the major leagues have all started to adopt similar language and similar agreements. And, it's not really readily available the same way you can get, publishing agreement or a recording agreement for music. It might not necessarily be Warner Music's agreement, but for all intents and purposes, you can get access to something. So, that was kind of the most unique thing. And then it finishes off by looking at some other areas that have really grown since, such as mobile esports and the international federation associations, like the International Esports Federation, and a bunch of these other different governing bodies, and high school and college esports, which we all know has significantly grown. And then finishes by looking at different social media disclosures, hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, and music licensing and DMCA considerations, because these are really important business and legal matters that could have huge implications on a streamer or a content creator. If your huge video gets taken down, or you lose your account because you have certain infringement strikes, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars or more in lost revenue. So it's being able to understand the legalities to protect yourself. And, that's kind of where the book comes in.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so thorough and in depth. And it probably took such a significant difference really trying to put that together. And you had that framework, man. I love that you had the insight as a true author would. And it's a great book, I'm telling you. I mean, I've learned a lot of it. It's very educational. The way that you put it together and talk about the deal flow and the structure is phenomenal, right? Great read, guys. If you want to get into esports, definitely check out the book. Justin, where can they get the book?
What's available everywhere? Amazon, everywhere. Barnes Noble, Rutledge. Yeah, I got one of those big major publishers that, distributes it. So I'm really, you can get it in any country. Kindle. So it's an ebook as well. And definitely check it out. I think, like, like David mentioned, there's a lot of really useful info, and those who are trying to get into the business, it's definitely a huge crash course. And I don't know if there's really much out there that covers it as in depth. So, check it out.
Awesome, awesome. So as you go on that, where are you headed next, Justin? You've done a lot of great things, right? You're working forward. You have your own firm. Now you're teaching. What is the next evolution of you when it comes to esports or your latter part of your life?
I mean, I think it's just really kind of continuing. Like, I just, am announcing I'm teaching another class at a different university this upcoming, next month. So
Wow.
it's exciting to just really trying to continue that. There's, I have 3 different classes at 3 different universities right now. I've helped develop curriculum for a few other schools, and there's this big international esports university that's launching that I helped create the legal class for, which is pretty awesome. So everyone be on the lookout for that. And just really trying to get more schools and individuals to, be aware of the book, see how they can use it, what they can learn from it, and hopefully just continue to grow and, find new talent. I've been having a lot of new interesting conversations, and hopefully the world trends in the right direction where, the whole live world can open up again, and, you know, you can be out and about, and there's all those opportunities that come from just kind of being in it, especially when you're located in some of these entertainment hubs by New York or LA or Vegas or Miami. You just have this aura, and there's just different kind of people there. So, hoping that comes back by the summer.
Yeah, you know what I love about you is you go, a different route in the legal route, structural route, where you're taught kind of one step, two step, three step in a certain framework, right, within certain things, parameters. But you've kind of unlocked this ability that a lot of the entrepreneurs do, which is to look outside of that with still adding in your core values and making that work. I mean, were you always like that? Were you always just motivated? Tell the fans and audience what happened, what put you into such a motivational beast mode.
I mean, yeah, I would say that I was probably the rare college student that had an internship every semester. Like, first year, freshman year, I was taking a train to Silver Springs, Maryland to work at this reggae record label. And the next semester, I was going to Arlington, Virginia to work at the RIAA. And then I worked at MTV in the city. And, I was really on this trajectory because I knew what I wanted to do early on. I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment world. I knew I wanted to be involved in this. I didn't know exactly where I was going to fit, but I knew that, you had to get experience. And I worked at ASCAP, and I worked at some record labels, and then I started to manage a DJ. And all the while during college, I was promoting all these, high-end nightclubs with all these big celebrities and DJs, and really just hustling and grinding and learning that angle of it. And, once you start making money and you start like seeing like, oh, I conceptualize this and look at how amazing this is. And, that you just get infectious. And, then when the school newspaper writes about you, and, you do the huge Halloween party with Funkmaster Flex with 5,000 college kids going crazy. And it's just like amazing times.
Man, when you say it and you have that smile on your face, man, I think of like the little kid back in the day, like us. And I'm like, what am I doing here, man? Like, it's so humbling.
Oh man, I was, talking about it last Izu in 2019. One of the artists that I've been working with for a long time, she was featured on the main stage. So like, literally, we go up before her, and it's Benny Benassi DJing. So me and my wife are standing on the side of the huge
Oh,
stage. We're the only 2 people on the stage, and there's like 30,000 people in front of us. And I'm just like standing there with a drink, just like on the stage, like looking around, like taking a picture with the crowd while they're all probably like, who is this random kid in the corner of this, Randall's Island huge stage? And, you know, that was just like a normal day for me. So it was just kind of like, this is kind of what I've grown up doing and being a part of. So it's really exciting to be able to take, video games and all that and bring that into it, and be able to talk about Fortnite and Call of Duty and Halo and all this fun stuff as part of my, day to day.
yeah, man. That's really, really cool. It's an unbelievable thing. And the energy and the positivity has really got to take it. There's a lot of young people listening to this, right? There's a lot of people out there trying to figure it out. If you had to give them one piece of advice, what advice would that be to kind of really take them to that next level?
I mean, I think Nike said it best. Just do it. I think that's the biggest advice that I, tell anyone. And whenever I kind of get this question, it's, everyone talks about what they're going to do, what they're thinking about doing, what they want to do. Just do it, and worst comes to worst, you do it and it doesn't happen the way you think because, that's life. Most things don't always turn out how we envision. But if you don't take the initiative, if you don't do it and you don't start it, you're never going to start it. You're never going to do it. And you're never going to evolve and learn. I would say I've, had a marketing company that I had for a lot, 6-7 years, and we did some really great stuff, but got to the point where it's time to, reposition and do stuff on my own. And, you just have to do it sometimes. And I think that's like kind of where a lot of people gets worried, like, oh, what if I do it and it doesn't work? Like, maybe I'm not ready. Like, you're never going to be ready most of the time. It's like if you have a good idea and you have the drive and execution, just start, make a list, like what you need to do first, and then just start doing it. Because as you do step one, 3 other things are going to come about. And once you're out talking to somebody, you're going to meet someone else who's going to connect you to this person. And, it kind of leads to the second part about, networking and putting yourself out there and trying to connect with other like-minded people, because that's when you really level up and grow. And it kind of goes back to just doing it, where it's like you have to sometimes put yourself out there. You have to sometimes send that random LinkedIn message like, hey, man, like I'm Justin. I'd love to talk to you. And that's probably how we met. And that's how I've met a lot of really influential people. And, worst comes to worst, they're not going to answer you. And, in my experience, there's not one person that's going to be like, how dare you email me? Like, who do you think you are? Like that's just not how normal people act. And I think a lot of people out there are nervous to put themselves out there or to take a chance, to take a leap. And as Nike says, just do it.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. What a great piece of solid advice. Absolutely so many gems that have popped up, man. Now, Justin, tell us your social media handles and where people can find you.
So, yeah, definitely check me out on Twitter and Instagram, Justin J ESQ, and check jacobsonfirm.com. I have a lot of useful articles and my contact info is there. And, my DMs are open. So I'm always happy to, connect with anyone and speak with anyone. I have students and whoever always emailing me and contacting me, and I'm happy to speak to anyone. And I think it's just all about coming respectful and correct, like don't send me like a huge long message on LinkedIn that I have to scroll down and scroll down. Be like, hey, like this is me. Like, I'd love to talk to you. That's going to get a response when like a 10-page message about who you are and why I should talk to you and how amazing all that, like, so I think that people need to understand that. And like I said, I'm always happy to speak to whoever. So whether it's through LinkedIn or any other social media, I'm very accessible.
Awesome. Justin, thank you so much for your time. Keep making these amazing changes. Everyone go follow my main man. And we will see you guys next time on Pananomics Podcast. Be safe and take care of yourselves. Good night. Check it out.